Hi there, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. I'm guessing you're at your rehearsal space or your drum studio or something.
Yeah, I am. It's just where I have all my stuff. So I'm at home right now. So my drum studio is the best place to do an interview, I think.
Yeah, so that I guess that means that you're back home from touring during the summer. So how was that for you?
Oh, it was nice. It was just a very short tour. And then now we're home again. Now we're just up to playing some gigs in Brazil here and there. It's gonna be chill.
Well, I'm guessing your summer tour was mostly festivals. So how have the festivals been for you? And do you have any specific memories from that you can share?
Festivals, I remember one special festival to me is it's very special that it's called Terminator. It is like set where Metal Days used to be set, and now they have Terminator there. So there's that very beautiful river, and there's the very nice nature in all like the festival area. It was a very special one for me. It wasn't the first show from the tour, I think. I'm not sure. I don't remember well. But I think it was at the beginning of the tour, so it was very cool to just start a summer tour with that, with nature, and we could walk around and just have a very nice day after the gig, which is usually like rare. We play and we usually pack our stuff and go away. So it's very nice to have a nice day around the festival area if we can.
Yeah. Were you able to see some bands as well, or is it also a rare thing?
It's rare, but on Terminator, I made sure to watch Frozen Soul from the US because it's just amazing. I think they're amazing. I was very hyped to see them live, and it was just as good as I imagined.
You also recently released your new record, which is CRYPTA's second album, Shades of Sorrow. So, how have the reactions been so far, considering the release was just a few weeks ago?
Very good. I would say they're way better than we imagined that they would be because the only like comparison that we have is with the first album, Echoes of the Soul. And Echoes of the Soul did really well for like a first album. But comparing now with Shades of Sorrow is doing way better than Echoes of the Soul did already. And so now that we have like something to compare with, I would say that Shades of Sorrow is definitely doing way better than we imagined, which is really good. We're really happy that people are reviewing the album well and talking about it.
I heard in some other interviews that going into this album, you still had some leftovers from Echoes of the Soul, so that's what you sort of based this album on. But the second album is also usually more for, expanding the sound and trying to experiment a little bit more. So in that sense, did you guys do anything different this time around?
I wouldn't say so. Like we all live very far from each other, so we still write music the same way as we did during Echoes of the Soul, which is basically everything over the internet, sending like riffs on a drive and sending stuff back and forth on WhatsApp. So yeah, in that sense, it's pretty much still the same. There are some riffs, as you said, that we had in this drive that we just didn't use for Echoes of the Soul because we didn't have the time to like think about them and plan the structure for them that are included in Shades of Sorrow, but I would say most of the stuff is new stuff as well because Sonia left the band at that time. So some of the stuff we had was hers, and so we just had to do it again.
Talking a little bit more about your lineup change, how did that happen and how did you get Jessica in the band? Like, did you already know her beforehand?
With Sonia, it was all very natural actually. When we started playing together, we were all very into like doing this death metal band. And I think with time, she just wanted to do her project more with Cobra Spell, which is totally fine. It happens that we just have different goals. Even within the band, we sometimes have different goals, and we have to like set one thing to be our goal. Otherwise, it's just like everyone has a different idea. And that was it basically. And then we needed to find another guitarist, and we thought that why not finding someone in Brazil and trying to make this a little easier because well, it's still complicated because Brazil is really big and we live very far from each other, but still like it's inside the same country, would say like, yeah. And I met Jessica at a drum festival that I played. It was an Achilles Priester drum festival, and she was there playing guitar for the drummers that were there, and we just thought of her and invited her, really, but like I just knew her name. We never spoke or anything.
Yeah. So I guess how important is it for you to have also chemistry with a person and meeting them in real life before you invite them to the band, so to say?
I mean, it would be really cool if we had options that we could choose from, like, oh, I'm friends with this girl and she plays really well, and or I'm friends with that other girl, and so we can see about inviting them since we're already friends. But it's really difficult, especially in an all-female band, because I feel like it's so hard to find a new member every time that things like that happen. It's hard to find someone around our age, which we think is important. It's difficult to find someone that is into metal and that plays like properly. And then sometimes when we find all of that, then this person doesn't want to live of touring or live of music. They want to do university or go and have another regular job. So to find a person that has all those qualities and then is up to being on the road all the time and just basically like not seeing their families anymore, or not having really a personal life all that much anymore. It's really hard. So we didn't have options. We like barely knew Jessica at all, knew only her name and her pictures online, and she was basically the option at the time. So we were really glad she accepted. Otherwise, it would be probably very difficult, and we would probably have chosen again another foreigner person.
It's interesting because obviously the pool of choices when you have an all-female band is a lot smaller than when you were looking for a dude. But is that ever an option you guys would like think about, to maybe have a guy if you really cannot find a woman to replace one of you?
No, I think we are just all very into this all-female band sort of thing. We think that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a guy in the band, definitely not. Like, I'm starting this new project right now in which we do have like some males and females, and so it's all it's all mixed up. But with CRYPTA, we think like we started like that already. It's a very known fact that we are on an all-female band, and we really do think we should have this space, this spot. If someone ever leaves the band again, we hope not, but if it happens that someone gives up at some point, we would like to maintain this spot to another talented woman, because there are many. It's hard to find like in a specific area, or like I just want from this country, but there are many around the world. Woman, it's hard to get into bands like big metal bands, even though like most are very talented and capable of getting into these other bands. We know it's very difficult because of the simple fact that we are females, and so we would like to always have CRYPTA as one spot for talented women instead, because it is hard to have that spot for women.
Yeah. Well, in another interview, I heard you say that you also growing up didn't really have any female representation. Well, and I guess I didn't either, growing up as a metalhead, but is it important for you guys to be that sort of representation for other girls that you didn't have at that age?
Yeah, for me, it's very important personally, and I think for all the girls as well. Like you said yourself, like I didn't have any female influences when I was younger and started playing. Not that they didn't exist, it's just it's very hard to find one that got to the mainstream, or that, like, especially for drums, like a female metal drummer that got to a mainstream point in which like you can just find when you search online. It's very difficult still. It's very difficult. So it's very important to me that CRYPTA one day gets to a place in which we can like influence even more like smaller young girls to start playing and playing for real, and play because they're passionate about metal and not for any other reason. Because one thing that also like bothers me sometimes is that I see many female bands taking this path of just like using their image as much as they can to like, kind of promote themselves. And as women, we are already getting more attention because we are females. Like it is rare to see all female bands, so we are automatically getting more attention. So I don't think we as women need to like explore that even more, you know. Like I think it's enough that we are just females doing this in metal. This is already like a lot different. So yeah, I hope in the future we can get some very cool female bands that the only thing you will remember from them when you think about them is like how fucking good the music is, and not think about, I don't know, how cool or appealing they look.
Yeah, is that yeah, no, normally I wouldn't ask this question, but now we're into the topic as well. Is that also why you guys have like a fairly, you just wear band shirts and pants like, any other band would do rather than like corsets or whatever stuff that some of these bands do?
Well, in my case, I've been always like this. I never like had to think about it. And I think for the girls as well, since I met them, they were all like that. And I think it's one reason why it works well in CRYPTA, that we are all like kind of the same page with this. We're not trying to force an image or anything, but we do think it's very cool that we like people cannot say that we're using our like bodies or image or like trying to be sexy to get our attention, because it is not the case with CRYPTA. Like we don't want that sort of attention. We don't need this sort of attention. And if the music sucks, then you can say that the music sucks and it's all right. But like, don't ever say that we're like sexy or shit, because that's really like diminishing. I think it's diminishing. So I
Yeah,
try my best to not get into that spot, you know? Like
yeah.
I have nothing against women that do that. I just think that it's so overly done nowadays that it would be cool if we have bands not doing that, maybe going to a just like a more of a regular path, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I guess, while doing that, it also just normalizes it a little bit more, which is, I think, pretty cool. And that's, I guess, what should be happening more. But anyway, enough about the, feministic chat. I'm sorry about that. But yeah. So I know that the album's topics, it deals with anxiety and depression and other mental health themes. And I know that in Brazil, the situation there with the pandemic and also a political situation was also, difficult, I've heard. But I wonder, playing drums and even writing this kind of music, whatever you go through also in culturally in a country and such, does that have effect, like, or does it help you play like in this more angry style, maybe?
This is a funny question because sometimes I get the question of like why Brazilian drummers are like hitting harder or just playing in a more angry way. And I don't know how to say for sure why that is, but I will say that living in South America in general is a very different experience when you have like an underground band, because it is difficult to find gear here. It is difficult to buy gear here. It's extremely expensive, and we don't get as much money in here as well. So for us, it's like this huge effort to have something when we get something. And then almost all the huge festivals are over Europe, and some are over the US. So we're totally out of the correct area to be playing and going to these festivals. So it is difficult. Like if we get to a better spot in which like you can tour around like we're doing right now, that we have the chance of going to Europe and doing these festivals, it is so huge for us. And I think some bands already from Europe might not realize how difficult it is for us to come all this way from Latin America to be there and play these festivals, because they are already in there. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is harder when you live in Latin America. Everything is just a little harder, you know. So I would say there is a little bit of that when you reach that point as a South American band. You do feel like you have to do it harder. Maybe I will say that it's that. I can't say for sure, but it's my
Yeah.
guess.
I always like, I don't know if this is a thing, but I always personally wondered whether Brazilian drummers are also maybe a little bit like inspired by, samba rhythms and stuff like that, because that's even something that maybe I heard a little bit in Stronghold, that you have this very like cool, groovy, rhythmic thing going on, especially in the beginning?
I'm not very good at it, I will say. I'm still learning. But yeah, I like groovy beats a lot, and I'm always trying to implement them. I don't wanna I don't want to make an album that is just like blast beats and double bass, because I am not just blast beats and double bass. I love to play grooves. So even though it's like death metal and shit, I would like people to hear the grooves that I like to play.
Yeah, is that something that you like practice? I presume that you play drums every day. Maybe it's not, but is that something that you work on a lot when you practice?
I always try to work on stuff that I'm not very good at. And during how can I say? Well, during the process of writing Shades of Sorrow, I did implement or try to implement rhythms that I wasn't very used to, that didn't make to Echoes of the Soul, because at the time I wasn't very comfortable. Among other things that I also added that I wasn't very comfortable with. So yeah, I'm practicing every day. I know, always trying to play the things that make me uncomfortable. Otherwise, like never gonna go forward with anything.
Yeah. Is there anything maybe for the next album around that you're gonna focus on playing that you haven't implemented yet in this album?
I will have to think hard in what I want to implement. I didn't think yet because we're just like very fresh with shades. But definitely, it's always every album I put stuff that I'm not comfortable with. So I'm gonna find something that I'll be very uncomfortable for sure, and I'll try to do for the next album.
Yeah, that's a quite interesting approach. So do you feel like you have to push yourself each album around to, give the best you can, like 100%?
I do, and also because I always want the albums to be more complex, and not just the albums, but I want to be a better drummer. And the only outlet that I have to be a better drummer is CRYPTA, because I'm playing with CRYPTA all year round. It's very difficult that I have time to be at home practicing. Right now I have, so I take all this time to practice, but it's very rare that I come home and have just like time to be practicing and trying out stuff. So if I don't put stuff that makes me uncomfortable and that is tricky for me in our songs, then I would say that I know for sure that at least for 85% of the year, I will be just playing things that I'm safe with and that I already know how to play, and that's going to be it. And so I always try to put these tricky things in the songs, because then through the year, I have to play them live, and I'm going to have to push hard to be able to play them live properly. And so to the end of these tours with the new albums, I'm always going to be better than when I started, because I got time to practice it live while I was playing. So that's always the plan with me. Since I don't have time to practice at home, I put them in the songs, and so I have to rush to learn those things. Otherwise, I'm just going to play safe for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I guess a challenge is nicer than just playing it safe anyhow. How do you have like a drum pad that you bring on tour to, practice your blast beats or whatever?
I do have a pad. Usually just use it when it's really cold outside, because then you have to warm up more. But yeah, just for the hands. I don't have more space for the the kick pads.
Yeah. I didn't even know there were kick pads, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, you mentioned like that you use it mostly for warming up, but I guess drumming is a very physical activity. So is there anything that you do to prepare yourself for going on tour and having to play drums every day?
Not really. I would just say that while I'm at home, then I don't stop playing drums ever, because it's terrible to stop playing drums. You start to feel like you're behind what you used to do. Like just recently I took like 10 to 12 days off, because I couldn't play drums in those. Like I didn't have a drum kit, and so I had to stop. And now that I came back, I'm already like, oh no, I have to start all over. I can't do this and I can't do that as good as I was doing when I was practicing every day. So yeah, just playing every day really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand. It's the same with like going to gym. Like
Yeah.
if you don't go for a while, you're fucked. Anyway, what I also thought was really cool about this album is the cover art, especially because I felt like it's a little bit different in style for from the like, classic old school death metal styled covers. So why did you guys decide to change it up a little bit?
We feel like this album is so much darker than Echoes of the Soul. Like Echoes was just a very like classic death metal album, and we wanted a very old school cover art, and that was it. It was the first, and we just wanted to be very classic with everything. And in this album, we feel like it's so much darker, especially the lyrics and the themes of everything. And so with that, we wanted a darker cover art and something more minimalistic, very straightforward with the concept. And that's what we did really.
You obviously just wrapped up the summer tour, and you mentioned now you're going to do a tour in Brazil, but can people also expect more venue shows in Europe anytime soon?
Yeah, I know that we already have confirmed Summer Breeze for next year in Europe. So with that, we already know that we are gonna be touring Europe, because when we go to Europe, it's never just to play one
Yeah.
festival or one show. So
Yeah.
we're gonna be around all that time, Summer Breeze. And we confirmed the tour in the US for February. And except for that, I really do believe we're gonna even come back to Europe more than just once next year, but I don't know that yet. Just guessing. So yeah.
I'm guessing that the touring will take up most of your time, but are you guys a band that also writes songs, on tour, or is that something because you tour quite much with this band, or is that something you take like designated time off for?
It's not that we're like taking designated time, because it's very difficult to do that, but every time we are home, we try to write something or have some ideas, because on tour we really don't have time. I know that some bands can do it, but we feel like we just don't have free time ever. Like it's all day just work, and when it's not work, we're doing like trying to go somewhere to eat, or trying to shower, or trying to pack, and blah blah. And then sometimes we barely have time to sleep at night. We have to sleep in the van. So, and while we're in the van, we're absolutely exhausted and don't want to do anything besides sleeping or mumbling around. So yeah, we don't find time to ride on tour yet, unfortunately. Maybe in the future when we have like a bigger crew to do stuff for us, and that I can bring like, I don't know, an e-kit or pads, then maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, do you guys you mentioned a bigger crew, but is there a lot of things that you guys have to do yourself because you have maybe a smaller crew?
It depends very much on the tour, but I would say that still for CRYPTA, we do most of the things ourselves. Sometimes we can like have a roadie that helps a lot with everything, and sometimes we don't. So when we don't do everything ourselves, like we did not a very long time ago actually. And right now we did get a guy that helps us a lot, which is very cool. In Brazil, we have more help because we have a bigger crew in Brazil. And yeah, sometimes in the US, we didn't have a crew. We just had our friend and tour manager that was driving as well and doing merch as well. He was everything pretty much. And so there we were just by ourselves. And so it really depends on the tour.
Well, I think that's it for my questions. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with your fans?
Well, we just released the album, so if you haven't heard the album, I would definitely recommend that you do. And feel free to like or dislike it, but just go there and listen to it. And follow up with the shows, I would say, because it's cool to watch the band live as well. I would say, as the drummer of the band. And yeah, that's it.